Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this morning. Beautiful morning, all things considered. And thank you for joining me on the weekend. I just wanted to say also, please do let me know if you are live so I can see that I'm not just talking to myself. Please drop me a little line, say hi in the text box. And it's really important that this becomes a bit of a two-way thing. I'm very, able to just sit here and talk, but really, I would love to know also that there's some sort of engagement from you guys and wanting to make this feel a bit more like an interactive group. And of course, what you're sending back is not the same as I'm sending you, but it's really great to know that we can sort of set up a little bit of a community because everyone can also see what you've written and it just becomes a bit more dynamic that way. So if you feel to, please write me a little note as we go through. If you have any questions, pop those in and let's just make it a bit more interactive. So today we're talking about resilience and changing times and mental health, particularly, self-care. And before we go into that though, I just want to drop in, this is one of the crucial bits of self-care, is just taking moments to really drop in to your body, yourself, to bring everything back to the present moment. So let's just now close our eyes, take a deep breath, and out, a little sigh, another deep breath, and a little sigh. One more. Feeling your body touching the ground, your chair, feeling your hands touching your legs, maybe your hair touching your face. The air coming in and out of your nose and mouth. Maybe touching your heart and sending a line of energy coming from your heart straight down through your body into the earth, going down right to the center of the earth, hooking in, connecting deep into the earth and the planet, nature. Coming back up and sending that right through your body, back up, a strobe of energy right up into space, into the universe, the mystery, opening up a channel for inspiration and light, bringing both, connecting both those lines back into your heart to meet, connecting also to all the other hearts out there, creating a huge web across the planet, feeling deeply into all the things that connect us and all the support that's out there. And coming back to the room. So resilience. Resilience really means being able to withstand all the things that come. To be really rooted. It's also this idea of yielding, being so rooted, but being flexible on the top, but rooted in the ground. So what are the things that can make us really rooted and grounded? And also the practices that let us just be flexible to roll with the punches, to take what comes and bounce back. It's really all that about bouncing back. How do we keep bouncing back? In a time like this where there's so much emotion, scared, negative, fear-based emotion, but also so much positive emotion. been so moved to see how much people are in support of each other, both on the web and both in these apartment blocks that are entertaining each other across their balconies, local communities taking care of their sick, bringing food, visiting elderly, where they're allowed to, finding ways to support each other even though they can't be physically present. And so the emotions are rife because they're going in both directions. And yet, such an emotional space is still not, where we want to be all the time when we're trying to look at opportunities and opportunities, and my dog's back again, and making decisions and planning and dreaming. It's always good to come back to this place of rest. And so we have already spoken quite a lot about techniques for resilience because it's just so fundamental to this time we're in. But I wanted to bring them back together again in a little bit more of a concentrated way. So we've spoken already about a fair bit about resilience, of the body. We started with meditation and finding ways to bring our nervous systems back to center, bringing ourselves back to a centered, balanced place. Meditation is a great one. Rest is really important. Rest, if you're not getting enough rest, take your time. If you aren't getting enough sleep at night because you're worrying and you're tired in the day, take that time to rest during the day. These are extraordinary times. This is not the time to tank up on coffee to keep going during the day, because it's just going to exacerbate your nervous system. It's going to be a quick high, but it's not going to solve the state of managing your emotional state and your nervous state. So take a rest whenever you need to. Allow yourself that. Nutrition. Keep healthy, keep balanced. It's really tempting to pig out and eat loads of, I have to admit I have eaten quite a lot of chocolate, but, keep it balanced, don't just hit your larder with the excuses that it's extraordinary times are allowed for extraordinary pigging out. It's really important to keep your nutrition balanced and your immune system going, and it's not going to be helped by eating unusual amounts of sugar. Daily care, it's a great time to get into just a daily care of routine. Beauty is the wrong word, but probably, but just caring for yourself, making sure that you're moisturized and making sure that you're bathed and taking care of your body and really using the time almost to luxuriate somehow, treat yourself, give yourself that pampering just to feel nurtured. And that's really the key, isn't it? It's about nurturing yourself as well. Breathing is really good. Again, make sure that you're getting some really good deep breath exercises in during the day, because it is that kind of environment where we're, tensing and not breathing deeply enough. And our whole body needs both oxygen and water. It's super important. And these are all things that we know, but very easy to let go of, because there is this perpetual excuse of being incredibly busy and having to deal and having to think and having to plan and having to work things out. But if we let those little things go by the wayside, our health will deteriorate very quickly, and our immune system won't be sort of up to speed as much as we'd like it to be. Exercise is a huge one. And actually, in these times, it's going to be really supportive to go online. And if you can, please support your regular yoga teacher online, or your regular exercise PT trainers, whatever it is, online. If you haven't had an exercise routine up till now, that's a great start. There are millions of practitioners and teachers out there who are really suffering because the studios have had to close, their lessons have all been cancelled. This is such a great two-way thing for them to help you and for you to help them. It's so important that all these people get supported by being able to continue their work online. So please start and try and get a daily bit of exercise in. It's going to make a huge difference to your mental state, as well as obviously keeping your body fit and active, being able to release some of this energy. We know about the body, and next one is going to be the mind. And from what I've seen so far and from what I've heard, this is really going to be incredibly tough on many people, mental health. Having spoken to friends who've just been in isolation, even by day 5, they're having a really hard time, and saying that a lot of their paranoias, their insecurities, they're really coming up. And we've spoken quite a bit about our negative belief systems, and this is really going to be it could be that this is a sort of dark night of the soul moment. And these are amazing moments in people's lives where actually it almost undermines everything they know. And we try to grab onto everything as hard as we can, but everything's slipping away. And it brings us to a point of complete surrender, of just having to let go and having to not know and having to just totally release ourselves to whatever is happening. And this is going to be that moment for a lot of people. But the dark night of the soul always comes before the sun coming back up. And while we cannot see when that's going to be, and we don't know how that's going to look, it will come. And we have to kind of function with that kind of faith right now. On a more practical level, I'll come back to the faith bit, but on a more practical level, keeping your mind, when everything else is breaking down, that we know it's like we've mentioned already, but having some sort of agency is going to be a real help. So what can you do? Where can you be active? As mentioned, we've talked about awareness when you're going down into negative thought patterns, awareness when you're being dragged in by drama of the media, awareness when your family are winding you up, and we're all going to be sitting in our houses together. I mean, it's going to be incredible practice not to be driven insane by our own families. So it's going to be, I think, a real help to practice that awareness, practice that, any practices we have to bring us back to awareness. Someone mentioned the other day, a really good one as well, is to be wearing some sort of symbol or ring or a bracelet or a watch or something, and give it that meaning, give it that intention to remind you to come back to the present moment. Use something that you fiddle with a lot. If you're always using the same pen, if you're fiddling with your ring, if you're looking at the watch is just bring you back to presence, bring you back to the here and now, back to the here and now. And every time you have that moment of back to the here and now, underline that by sensing into your body. Back to here and now, my feet are on the floor. There are great practices of just being present in doing really everyday things. And it is that sort of saying of living an ordinary life in an extraordinary way, where you're really feeling your feet on the ground as you walk, where you're feeling your hands in the water when you wash up. Being grateful for the water while you wash up. So sort of gratefulness and present awareness is a practice in its own right. And I can't remember, there's another saying, it'll come to me anyway. Oh yeah, try to live your ordinary life in an extraordinary way and bring yourself back to the present moment all the time. Oh yes, I remember. So this idea is also thinking about not walking through a room to be somewhere. So we're always slightly in the future, because if someone says, what are you doing? You say, I'm going to the kitchen. But what you're doing is that you're walking. So I'm walking. So try to be walking while you're walking, and be in the kitchen when you're in the kitchen, and just be with everything that you're doing as opposed to seeing it as a means to an end. That's a really great practice. Not so easy, but it's a good one. So talking about having children at home, we're going to have to be quite busy with our children. And I don't know about you, but I have been given huge amounts of resources online, and a lot of amazing, companies have jumped in with ideas. Lego's got a 31-day challenge and all these kind of things. And that in itself can be quite overwhelming, because it could kind of make us feel like we need to be super mums and super dads and spend all day in these activities, as well as checking in with school, as well as this, as well as that. So it's good to know to have these resources, have a little look at them, see what sticks, but also just take the time to create maybe a plan for yourself and your family. In this time when we're all living together, boundaries and routine will be a lifesaver. Very clear boundaries as to when each of you is doing what, or expected to do what. Which bits are your working area, which are out of bounds for the kids. Which bits are your private areas for yourself, where no one else gets to go. Even if it's not all the time, but just then have the itinerary instead, where it's like, okay, this is what's happening for the next week. Because if we kind of get the feeling that the drift of not having a routine and not having structure can probably be quite damaging. It'll mean we're all in each other's space. There's no privacy. And also there's just not enough discipline to keep us going in a way that's in a way that would going to be healthy. If we drift in one area, we'll start drifting in all of them, and then it'll become chaos, and the chaos will start reflecting in our home what is going on outside. And I think our homes really need to be our sanctuaries, and to keep our sanctuaries sort of clean of chaos and almost sacred. I think that it's going to be super helpful to have sort of quite strict routines and boundaries. If you find yourself in mental loops and sort of panicking, know that you've got your escape routes. The minute you catch yourself that you're doing that, or in fact even mention it to the other people in the house, that you all have a trigger word or something that just points out to the other person that you're in this frenetic state, and actually it's not one to be communicating in, but also one that's not helping. So we were speaking before about things you can do, whether it's just doing burpees or going for a run, or actually singing is a really good one. Picking a song and singing, that is a brilliant one, because just the vibration of singing settles down your body and brings you back into harmony. And if really in doubt, then, or having a really hard time, then I would even suggest jumping in a cold shower. Just something to shock your system, change your energy, purify you from all the madness. So if you have access to that, that's a really good one to get you back into the here and now, and back out of your mind and into your body immediately. So yeah, keeping busy. So, as we said, teaching your children, spring cleaning is a great one. Feels very effective when you're throwing things out, or just feeling like you're getting your life back in order at home. We mentioned that there's probably quite a list of to-do things that you had for the home anyway, so this is a great time for that. Creativity we've spoken about as well. Great time to learn an instrument, learn a language. Again, feel like you're pushing yourself and challenging yourself in some sort of way, is going to be great for your mind, keeping you on your toes, keep your mind on its toes, if that makes any sense. As mentioned, gratitude is always a big one. Gratitude for everything that you do have. And, I think also we'll see now how many things that we're grateful for that we have temporarily, hopefully, but may have lost. Like, wow, what these, just this. I think we've always just assumed that we will be able to support each other that we will always have community in hard times. We'll all be there. Someone will take care of me. It's like, and this is really scary right now when you think, wow, my whole family could be ill and no one might know and no one might help us out and we're going to have to survive on our own. But, it makes you just think how lucky we are to have that usually, and we've taken it so for granted. And in a way, this whole reflection of just being on our phones more and more and connecting in that way, but it's all sort of in this little box. We've stopped going out as much. I know I've almost stopped going out because I've got, people I need to see on the internet, or I've got a film to watch, or I've got this and that. I'm feeling like I'm getting my socialization from my digital bits, but actually, I really miss now not being able to see my friends, and I miss not being in people's presence, in people's field. And of course, we're going to do brilliantly, and thank God for the internet at this time, so that we can maintain community. But it's also a great time to be grateful for those things we are not able to do right now. Gratitude is one for every day. That's not just one. If we can practice that, wake up, be grateful that your feet are still moving. Be grateful that your legs are still working. Be grateful that you're still breathing. All these small things. This is such a great opportunity to be grateful, to really dig deep into all the little things that it takes to be alive, that our everyday lives take, all the little things that it takes just to have a daily boring life. They're all miracles. They are all miracles. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for perspective. As I just mentioned, community is obviously a really big one for mental health. So if you're not already, try and join a local community group, support group. I know there's lots on Facebook for certain areas within cities. I know we're setting one up for our village. There's quite a lot of elderly people in our village, and it's all quite spread out. So it's really important for us to have some sort of group that we know if anyone in the village is ill, and we can help them out somehow. It's going to make you know that you can be helpful when needed, and I'm sure we all want to be helpful in some sort of way at the moment. Again, having your online communities, you're probably in touch already with your families online a lot, also amongst your friends. In a great practice as well is to set up a sharing circle amongst friends. You may or may not want to just keep them to one gender, just so that you can share from a perspective and maybe be a bit freer in sharing. Sometimes people do find it easier to be honest in their sharings when it is just their own gender. Or close friends, it doesn't really matter. But the idea is, rather than everyone just being on a Zoom call together or a Skype call together, chatting, is to actually give some specific time to check in with each other, because the chatting can just often mean that we're in banter, we're in humour, we're in gossip, and actually it can quite easily turn into something that, while humour is obviously brilliant, it's also something quite superficial. And I think what we all need right now, I kind of feel what we all read right now is really, deep connection. And so I would recommend, or I suggest, to have at least at the beginning of the call, maybe a time for everyone to check in and just go around one by one and have everyone have about 3 to 5 minutes just to really share how they're feeling and what's affected them and what's moved them. And people just listen and no comment on it, just so that you know that you've been heard and have been able to go deep, and after which it will take a natural progression as to the conversation. And of course after that, why not have a light-hearted time? But it is a really nice way to just go deep quickly and really touch that side in ourselves and know that we're connecting on that level as well. And so finally, we've had body, we've had mind. Oh, actually, no, mind, one more really important thing. Sorry, I forgot. as I mentioned before, this can be a time that really brings back any, will bring up to the surface any residual or ongoing, or can do, sadness and depressions, insecurities. They will rear their ugly heads. We know where they're coming from. They're, often limited belief systems and archetypal behavioral patterns and all these things we've mentioned before. Obviously, there's biochemical imbalances as well that can happen. That might be a regular thing or not. Please, 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 please do not hold back from sharing if you are down. And if things are getting really bad and you don't feel you can share with anyone else because you don't want to feel like you're adding to other people's responsibility right now, then there are groups to call, like the Samaritans, Mind, a number of other ones. I will put them in the resources. Do not hold back. These are not just services for people who are suicidal, but anyone. So please take advantage of these services if you feel that you are having or you're struggling mentally. So having gone body, having gone mind, the last one I think is coming back in now. It's a conversation. It's time to, if we really want to find the opportunities in this, I think the soul, the faith is something to bring back in now, if it isn't already part of your life. And when I'm talking about faith, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about temperamental gods, and I'm not talking about, father figure gods who are going to come swooping down and taking care of all of us and everything's going to be okay. But just the sense that we are all part of something bigger. And as all our systems are breaking down around us, there's one system I was saying yesterday that's still there, and it's the system of nature and the universe. And the system of nature can bring us so much guidance and nourishment where other humans might not be able to, perspective particularly, but also just knowing that we're part of this incredible system of the super large and the super small, and everything's functioning together, and none of this could exist without everything else existing exactly as it is. And it sort of blows my mind, really, which is the point. It's not the mind, it's beyond. And just knowing that we're part of something bigger and believing that there is a system, a bigger system, and that there's some sort of logic underlining it all, or at least some sort of purpose, and maybe some sort of higher intelligence is again going to give us, help us in where we are in the bigger picture, and not taking everything on just on our shoulders. So while we're stepping up to be responsible for our lives completely, we also know that there's only so much we can know and so much we can do, and a lot of it will be about, as mentioned, surrender and surrendering to what's going on and taking care of what we can take care of, but also surfing this wave, which we do every day, but now we're really aware of it. And to feel connected in this way, meditation is a really good one, because actually when you get into it enough, it does bring you sometimes into states where you feel completely, you really feel into the space that connects everything, the space between, amongst, that within which everything exists, and it focuses on that side of things, and you really feel the connection to something so much greater than just this physical world of everything we can see and touch. There are lots of group meditations going on, and there have actually been scientific experiments to show that people meditating together in New York can affect the energy field of a flower in London. And I will add some resources about scientific backgrounds to and the idea that there is this connecting field around the planet, or field of consciousness that we're all part of. And so group meditations, even if you've never done one, even if you don't really think they work, try one, see how you feel. Because everyone doing something, huge numbers of people doing something together, could be anything, but actually meditation is just one that's really present and aware. Makes you feel super connected, and again shifts you into states of consciousness that you might not be in a lot, and actually probably really useful at a time like this, just to feel this connection to something much bigger, and this huge solidarity and union as well with people across the world, regardless of where they're from and what their beliefs are, and just all wanting the best for everyone. So that's meditation. We've also, if you've had you probably know already about visualization as well. Talking yesterday about, what choices are you going to make, or how are you going to look at your systems and your life and the choices that you make. But equally, visualizing and dreaming, what is the future that you want to dream for yourself and everyone else? And so visualization is a really good one as well, to really nail down. And it doesn't always have to be a visual picture. Not everyone is visual, so I don't really want to use the word visualization, but really becoming still and centered and feeling into the feeling of what it would feel like if all those systems that aren't working and all those worries that you have, are much less, or at least, how would they be if we all felt, if we were all able to connect into a space of inner freedom, unaffected by what happens around us, and visualizing what you would like for yourself and for your family and for your friends. And it's a fine line between visualization and prayer. And I know a lot of people who are, not really very well versed in prayer. It's not something we do anymore. And if we have done it, it's quite often been by rote through a tradition. And this is a great time to just start a prayer practice again for yourself. And it's not about feeling sorry and regretting and wishing you'd done things differently, but really just, again, checking into where you are. Be in, this is it's a private conversation. It's a vulnerable space to be in and admit your fears and ask for help. Ask for help from the universe without any expectation. But name it, say it out loud. Just give it some weight. Wouldn't it be nice, blah, 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 a quick thought in the head. Let's kind of pin those things down. What exactly would be nice? What exactly would you like to dream for yourself? And ask for it. Worst that can happen is it doesn't happen in the way that you expect, but something will happen. Rupert Sheldrake actually wrote a book about all the practices that we used to do together in, under the auspices of church, but that actually have a lot of positive effect on us, and that we're now missing as a society who don't attend church or other religious ceremonies anymore. And not that we should necessarily go back to those. It might be time to reimagine how those look, how spirituality looks going forward. But the rituals that were involved in those are missed now in society. Rituals of rites of passage, praying together, the kind of energy that's built up from praying together, singing together, pilgrimages, so long walks with the purpose of a goal, And we all have our own sorts of those, some more than others, but this might be a time to really actively establish things like that again. And of course, right now we can't move, we can't meet, but I'm sure there's a lot of things going on online where we can test the waters. And I'm sure, you know, we can, if I can find some, I'm sure I can find some. I'll put some on the resources as well. But finding groups that you feel drawn to that are practicing together in a non-secular way, or again in a religious way, if that's where you lie. But you know, finding groups to step back into that space with online, I think, will really give us some sort of grounding in faith as well, that things are as they are and they will be as they will be, and yet we can still find joy and connection and beauty in everyday life. So that's me for today. Do say hi on the text if you are live. Would love to see who's here. If you have any questions also, please pop something in now. Any questions that I miss now, I can always answer by email afterwards. And I haven't set you any tasks today. It's just a long list of recommendations. So I will put them up as well in the resources. And for all of those, if you are in Crowdcast, I'll email you all the resources at the end, and the end of the course, at the end of tomorrow. If you haven't had a chance to watch the first few, I've noticed that some of the replays haven't been watched. Do so, because it is all working together. Everything we've said, one episode's fine too, but it is all there for you to watch if you would like to check it out a bit more. And so let's close this one off in a connection with each other. Eyes closed. Deep breath. Another one. Reaching out to all of us who are in this space together, either in the same temporal space or over time watching this, knowing that there's a community just here, that we know we're all trying to get through this space, through these times together, sending each other a lot of love and support, grounding into the earth, up into the sky, feeling the connection of all the other hearts on this planet, and sending everyone and every heart a big ray of sunshine and love. So thank you very much for joining. Do email me any questions if you're not live now, and keep well, keep safe, keep grounded. Much love.